Tango Audio.
If you enjoy the stories on this podcast, you'll also like the stories in my book, Filmmaking Confidential, which isn't just for filmmakers, but also all artists and really any entrepreneur. Now an Amazon.com and Audible.com bestseller. I just want to say thank you to all of you who ordered it. If you haven't yet picked it up, it's available wherever books are sold in most countries around the world. To find out more, check out filmmakingconfidential.com and stevebalderson.com. And thank you. I'm Steve Balderson, and you're listening to the Filmmaking Confidential podcast. Every week we meet with filmmakers, writers, actors, artists, and other notables. Many episodes include questions or commentary from other filmmakers listening to the conversation. Today's guest is the fabulous Rena Riffel. Rena is an American actress, singer, dancer, model, writer, producer, and director. She is best known for her supporting roles in films such as Showgirls, Striptease, and Mulholland Drive.
$50 a pop, you take them in the back. Touch and go. They touch, they go. You can touch them, they cannot touch you.
Oh, that's good.
Now, if they come, it's okay. If they take it out, come all over you, call a bouncer, unless he gives you a big tip. If he gives you a big tip, it's okay. You got that?
Was he serious?
That was Rena in a clip from Showgirls.
I used to entertain myself with my friends that were really creative, and we would have, and I think a lot of kids actually did this, but we would have these characters with their whole storyline, and we had like 5 different ones, and then we would just play for hours, like improvising these scenarios. And then another thing we did was we played Barbies, and we had like Barbie families, and we built their houses and would decorate and just have like these continuous like soap opera storylines. And that was all like before 10 years old. Like, I think that started maybe around 6 or 7 years old.
Cool.
And so I look back and I think that's a big part of what I do now. It's just the same.
Yeah, I had that too. I had Star Wars action figures, but I gave them different names, and they had like, who was married to who, and like who killed someone, and then who did it, and like all this sort of like, and acting out them.
Yes.
And then as I got older, I just applied that to human beings for a film.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it's transferable. Like playing as kids, it transfers into writing a script, being a filmmaker, being an actor. Even
what did you do first? Like when you finally, did you say, I'm going to be an actor now?
Yeah, that's a confusing question. I ask myself that a lot, actually. The journey was when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I realized I was going to be an actress. And it was like this profound moment that I remember. And all of us kids were telling each other what we're going to be when we grow up. And my one friend said he was going to be an astronaut. And then he actually did become that. And then my other friend was, I'm going to be a teacher. And then I was like, oh, I know what I'm going to be. I'm going to be an actress. But I wanted to be like on Gilligan's Island. I wanted to be Ginger because I love Marianne as well, but I just like the glamorous Ginger. But then as things progressed, I ultimately became really interested in dance and choreography. So I kind of spent my teenage years and even before that focusing on dance. And that's what brought me to move to LA was become a dancer, like know me.
That's hilarious.
I'm a dancer. A friend that lived in the apartment building, introduced me, set up a general meeting with Nancy Mayer, the casting director, who's still doing really well, she referred me to an acting coach and told me also like what dance studios I should be going to. So for some reason, I just took her advice and I started taking acting classes. I just started studying, and then we had an agent come in for a showcase, and the agent wanted to sign me. I was still like 19 at the time. And then they sent me out on my first audition, which was like it was a B movie, but it was kind of a bigger budget. It was through Lorimar, if you remember that company back then, down Sony Studios now was like Lorimar back then. And then, so anyway, I got the part, like my first audition, but then I kind of quit acting for a little while. And I told my agent I didn't want to act. So then I kind of did some soul searching at, 19, 20 years old. And I was like, no, I want to be a model. And I just really loved makeup and fashion and still photography. I still love still photography. To me, it's like acting, but you're working just in a different media.
Totally. Like even the Cindy Sherman photos, that are like film stills to films that don't exist.
Yes. I love her. I love her work. And I was still doing, my dancing and everything. By 20, I was focused on modeling, and I got with elite models. And so my acting career just kind of like went away at that point. But then I went back to that same acting coach. And then from there, I started booking a few acting roles and then got my first leading role. And then from there, got Showgirls.
It just sort of like happened organically.
Yeah. It was like the early success kind of story. Although to me, it felt like it was taking forever because I was really focused and really disciplined. And that was the main thing I wanted to accomplish in my life. But it was kind of all over the place, like you said. It's like, I wanted to, do modeling. I thought at the time with acting, I used to reason with myself, and I'd be like modeling back then, you had to be really young. It's not that way anymore. But and I thought acting I could do at any age because I can play characters. So it was a little bit on the back burner in my mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you do any TV before Showgirls, or did TV come later for you?
I just thought of that the other day because I finally booked my first guest star part on a show called Freshman Dorm. And it was just one scene, but it was with Casper Van Dien. And we had this little scene together. Yeah, that was the only TV. I was auditioning a lot for these small parts back then. But then I got this leading role in a movie called Art Deco Detective. And that was like the big break for me, because from there, that's how I got the audition for Showgirls.
I've always loved Paul Verhoeven's work. How was it working with him?
Oh, well, it was great. It was kind of like a dream come true at the time back then in 95, because I had loved Basic Instinct. And, I looked up to Sharon Stone so much. I love that. I heard it. I heard it first, and now it's over there. So the people who are listening, Rena and I are neighbors. And so that's why it's like I could hear it coming up the block, and I knew it was coming to you next. That's so funny. It's really loud here. So yeah, it was just, I can't even find the words, like how happy I was that I got to work with Paul Verhoeven. It was just perfect.
Was he exacting, or was there a lot of freedom?
He would change the way he went about working with actors with the different actors. And, there are documentaries made about how he directed Elizabeth, and he gave her a lot of direction because he wanted a certain type of heightened performance. I mean, I was there, of course, but with me, I was surprised. He did give me a lot of freedom. like we would do the rehearsal. I don't know if we would tape the rehearsal. I can't really remember, but I just remember bringing what I thought of and then waiting for his feedback. And I remember he would just say, do it again. Like there weren't major adjustments that he gave me. I remember one that really stuck with me. This is just so minor. I mean, it shows that he's very into the detail. And I still have this tendency to like put my head to the side when I talk. And he was like, keep your head up straight when you talk and, or, deliver my lines. Because I was like going like this. But then in the final take, I remember my head is still cocked to the side. He was just more like every take that we did, he would just encourage.
Was it a good shoot? Like, did people enjoy being there?
Yes. I felt like we were all on a high. It had that energy where it was just like the most important and the biggest thing that was happening in everyone's lives. Because most of us, well, not all the actors, of course, but there were so many dancers on that set. And so because we got to dance and we had dance rehearsals and, it was a job, we were getting paid and we were working with like the biggest director in Hollywood at the time, with the biggest writer at the time, Joe Esterhaus. We were just, all of us, I think, were just in awe of our lives in that moment. But it was a great experience.
What was it like physically? Was it exhausting to just have all of the dance and the whole 9 yards? I mean, just to make a movie by itself is exhausting enough, but then you add in all of this additional performing that's going on in it.
I look back on it and I would kind of like calibrate my whole day or even my whole week to save up my energy and just give it all when I had to, when the dance would happen. Like I would, sit in my trailer, go into quarantine, and then just exert myself when I would do the dancing. So I don't think I was really that exhausted. If I was doing that now, I don't know if I would have that energy, because it did take a lot of energy. And like our rehearsals, I remember, were like 3 hours or something at a time. And we were rehearsing like every day.
That's crazy.
I mean, we were all really young at that time. I was like 24, and I can tell by the one scene that took place in Vegas, which was the first week of filming, and then we went on for like 5 months, and we were rehearsing. My dances were longer than what ended up in the film, but my body completely changed. But like Gina says, yeah, I don't think I've ever been in that great of shape either since the Showgirls dance workout.
That's amazing. And then right afterward, well, how long was Striptease after Showgirls?
Not very long. The day I wrapped my scene, which was at the end of the whole production, I did this show called Land's End. Right after that, like a couple months on that, then I went right into Striptease. So it was kind of like, I think only a couple months after that we got into Striptease production.
Cool. And comparatively, what scope of a shoot was that? Like, I mean, Showgirls, in what I've heard and seen or read anyway, was just a gargantuan, machine. Lots of people, lots of, just the scope of it. Was Striptease as big?
Actually, Striptease was bigger. There were so many elements to that production that it made Showgirls seem like an independent film. Just like that energy, that vibe, and the creativeness that happens compared to Striptease. Like, we shot less for every day. We only shot like, I'm exaggerating here, but like an eighth of a page. And we would rehearse the one scene for like 5 hours before doing the 5 takes or 10 takes, whatever it would take. We were filming in Florida, and like the production like rent us all like cars and gave us bikes, and we like all had our own sports car and lobster and a massage therapist on set for each one of us. It was just at a whole new level of being kind of like spoiled basically. I look back on it. So
That's great,
yeah, it was
though.
even bigger. It seemed to be a bigger budget by the way they allocated the funds in that way.
Yeah. I loved that movie. I remember seeing it when it came out, and I really loved it. And I think I don't know why everybody, like the critics, didn't like it so much, but I thought it was fine. Maybe it was just marketed, in the wrong way or something. I don't know, but I thought it was great.
Oh, well, thank you. I would like to revisit that movie as well, because it was kind of like cute. It was kind of like a family film, even though it was called Striptease, compared to Showgirls was more risque.
Right. How soon was Mulholland Drive?
I think in 99 or 2000.
A couple years later. Okay.
Maybe we filmed that in 99, and then it got stuck, in the
right. Because it was originally meant to be a pilot.
Yeah, it was going to be a TV series.
Had you filmed all your stuff already when then he went back in to do the final, like the sort of second shoot?
Yeah. The one thing with Mulholland Drive, I was supposed to film more, and then they notified me, it's not going to be picked up as a TV series, but we're going to turn it into a movie. And then they sent me, and I don't know who, I heard a few other people, but like new contracts. And so I was supposed to film some more scenes, and then I was waiting. I was like, this is the month it's supposed to happen. And then nothing happened. But then I had heard from some people who are close to all the David Lynch fan base, kind of what happened. And the actor who was supposed to be in the scene with me was unavailable, but we'll never know because David Lynch won't tell.
Of course. That's amazing.
I still have questions, and I watch his interviews about Mulholland Drive, and he's still kind of vague with giving it all away. So
totally. And I admire that. On one hand, it's sort of fun to let the audience just decide whatever they want,
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the things that makes Mulholland Drive kind of live on and have that special thing about it, is that people are trying to figure out, still trying to solve the mystery. Just like Twin Peaks,
Right. How was David as a director to work with?
He was great as well. He was really creative. You felt that artistic energy coming from him. And he also gave me a lot of freedom. And he also gave me this, I've told this story before, but kind of the same as Paul Verhoeven. The direction was, I had this other scene that did get cut from the film. And I was looking up in the sky, and I was playing, my character was kind of living on the streets, and maybe I was on drugs, when I was looking up in the sky for the first take, and he's like, Rena or Lainey, whatever he called me, don't look up in the sky because I'll have to cut away to that shot, and I don't want to have to because I don't know what's going to be up in the sky. What is it you're looking at? And I was like, oh, okay. So
interesting.
Yeah, that is actually pretty interesting because it was sparking his imagination in that moment. I remember
amazing.
And he had told me he was still open to possibilities, basically, with some of the questions I asked him about the script. Looking back on it, I see how he was just in that creative process, even when we were filming, just to see where this TV series was going to go with his storyline.
So he was flexible. He wasn't rigid in a sense.
Yeah, except for the part where I was looking up in the sky and he would have to do a turnaround.
Filmmaker Rena Riffel. Another wonderful guest is cult icon Mink Stoll.
John Waters will tell you a story that I threw a saxophone at him. We didn't speak after we finished filming Pink Flamingos. I moved out.
You can hear my full interview with Mink at filmmakingconfidential.com or by subscribing for free to this podcast. We'll be right back with Rena Riffel. Stay with us. I'm Steve Balderson, and this is the Filmmaking Confidential podcast. I'm back with Rena Riffel.
I ended up getting a record deal at that time as a dance artist. It was with Polygram Records and Mercury Records. And it was going to be for a dance single. I was working with all of these, like Louis Martinet in Miami. I went back there and he did Expose. Remember that band? Like, so I was working with all these like 80s producer writers, some people that worked with Paula Abdul. But what happened was music was starting to change at that time. And then there was like an M&A with, I forget the companies, but basically Polygram kind of dropped all their artists. And I ended up, they didn't release my single. I remember at the time we were kind of like trying to figure out what my single would be even. And then after that, I just like kept writing songs and kept recording and all that. And it's been like a passion in my life. I don't know. I ended up putting my songs in some movies, and one is in Showgirls as well.
While you're filming, did they know that you were going to have this song in there, or was it when it was in post?
Oh, yeah. It was actually on the set. It was while we were filming, and I had this new demo that I had just done, the Deep Kiss song, and it was on a cassette tape. And I asked the music supervisor, I said, I sing, I just did this song. Would you guys like to use it? So she brought it back to her coworkers or the production office. And she told me this, like she played it over the speaker and everyone's like, oh, that's a good song. Yeah, let's put that in there. And then she's like, hey, well, that's one of, the actress in the movie, that's Rena. And they're like, oh, because she told me like she didn't want like a bias, and she wanted to see if it's really a good song for the film. And then she played it for Paul and he's like, yeah, this is great. Oh, well, that's, Penny. So then he came up to me and he's like, yeah, I love your song. We'll put it in. It's perfect for this one spot that he was looking for something, which is right before the Nomi lap dance scene. I was really excited about that.
Here's a clip of Rena's song, Naked.
And I'm broken, I fight for my breath, hoping I'll give it my best, knowing my hands may be tied, but my spirit won't die in a heartbeat. There's gotta be something better than this. I'm tired of the mess I've been masquerading. There's gotta be something better than this. My heart is undressed and I'm still naked. There's gotta be something better than this. I'm tired of the mess.
Have you continued with it?
Yeah, I've been doing music. I've been working with a producer who lives in Sweden, and we put together some songs, which basically he's composing all this music, but we are working on doing music for a fitness program that I'm working on.
Cool.
And so that's kind of been ongoing, but I'm still creating music. I love music, but I'm not like pursuing the music business anymore.
Well, I think I know what you mean, but like as an artist with so many different gifts and also avenues of expression, there's so many different ways to express yourself. And I think it's important to do all of them, even if it's not meant to be a career choice,
I love that.
First of all, I am a huge fan of Astrid's self-portrait.
Thank you. I didn't know if anyone saw it or not. But.
Well, I feel like we met after I saw it, or we met and then I saw it and I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, this is like beautiful cinema. And then I was like, oh, I have to talk to Rena more because this is just like really amazing and inspiring. I mean, the costumes, the look, all of it, just like the whole nine yards. And you produced, directed, or did you produce, or you just directed, wrote, you're in it? Did you shoot it too? I mean, were you the DP? I mean, it's like, I feel like every part of it was your DNA.
Yeah. I did everything. I would recruit my mom at times, my little brother, and my co-star, who played a photographer, to do some of the photography. But mostly, like, a lot of it is just self-portrait as well. But yeah, I just shot it myself. But that was like part of the process and the experiment was just to do it all myself and just really enjoy it and kind of get away from the other way of, independent filmmaking is when there is the big collaborative crew and so many people and, calling people, getting them to come down and all this kind of stuff. So I wanted to just make it really minimal.
How did you know to do Astra? Did it come from a place of kind of frustration of working with other people, or more the excitement of the experiment of, can I be a one-man band, basically, one-woman show?
Well, I mean, it was a little of both, but I was like completely burnt out after doing the Showgirls 2. That movie, I like bit off more than I could chew kind of vibe. It was so overwhelming. And it was presented in a way because Showgirls 2, it seemed as though it had a budget, but it was just burnout. I wanted to like reclaim my own artistic capabilities and vision. And I used it almost like a healing process. It's easier to just make a movie on my own and just wear all the hats. And like you brought up Cindy Sherman, like that was one of my inspirations to do this self-portrait kind of film. And then I ended up doing another film that was similar, which I really was going into experimental area to where I actually recut it like not too long ago, that I would have these super long takes that all like self-portrait style. And that's called My Wife Is at Home.
Would you say that your history in dance and choreography made the transition into becoming a director easier for you than other people maybe?
Yeah. Dance, it's so structured and it's like there's that rhythm and the different levels that you hit with a dance performance. Even though there's many types of dance performances, but I just took a course on dance history. So they kind of broke it down to me even better. But yeah, it applies. Dancing and choreography apply to directing and editing.
Was it through modeling that you learned composition, like the how to have the costumes look that way and the shot and the framing and all of that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a big part of writing the script for me is kind of starts with the visual of the fashion and their look and the character, and then constructing the story, just like whatever I dream up, whatever pops into my head, basically.
So just like reverse engineering from the look down to then figure out what the scene is. Yes.
You could take the wardrobe, the look, and then a lot of times it's also the location, because I don't know if it's working backwards. It could be compared to, a lot of the really big budget studio films. It's like, okay, now we got to find this, as it says in the script, or build it or as a set. But a lot of times, I work backwards and I'll find a location and then use that to create the story, which I didn't do with the Showgirls 2. And that was one of the hardest parts, but we pulled it off. Like sometimes I was blown away. I was like, this is actually what I envisioned. How did we find it and get it for low cost, Well,
that's always the trick. I don't know. I like creating with restraint and having not all the resources, because then you have to learn actually to be more resourceful, even if you don't have a lot of resources.
Yeah, that is where the creativity really goes to that next level, is having those restraints. I love it too.
Cool.
I love working in that way.
What I also think is interesting, as an artist who, you're an actor, you're a director, you're a musician, you're a dancer, you're an all-around creator, right? I love that you, in the middle of all of this, want to continue learning things. Why is continuing to learn things important to you? And what subjects are those things, and do they change?
I'm going to college now, and I started there in 2019. I'm just basically taking my general ed right now. And I took this one class on college success, and it outlines how to even maneuver yourself through college. It's a whole learning curve unto itself when you've never been. But they even said like there's a statistic where people change their majors a lot of times, like 5 different times throughout the process, unless you really know what you want to do. But
have you found that to be the case though?
Yeah. Like at first I started out with a business major. And then from there, I started going back towards the creative side. And then I was like, well, maybe I should just do fine arts, even though like what we're talking about, it's like I've lived a 30 years of fine arts training, but then do you have to have that degree, you know? And then I went into kinesiology, and now I'm like in humanities. I just keep like jumping majors, and I think I'm going to change again at this point. Anyway, I love college. I love learning. I really love doing the research. I love writing the papers, the research papers. It's a lot of work though. Right now I'm determined to continue this, but I have a 4.0 and I'm getting all A's, and I've been on the dean's list twice. And so yeah, that's
amazing.
That's what's taking up my time. Like ever since I started that, oh my gosh, it's like a full-time job, and it just doesn't stop.
But I love that you just keep doing it, and that you have a 4.0 and you direct movies and you star in movies and you make music and you illustrate. I just love that you do all of this. I am so happy that we got to connect and do this finally.
Yes.
Actress, filmmaker, Rena Riffel. You can find out more by following @Rena Riffel on Instagram. Tune in next time for more Filmmaking Confidential. It is totally free to subscribe, and when you subscribe, you'll get upcoming new episodes automatically, and you'll have free access to all our past shows. Please leave a review to let us know how we're doing. The Filmmaking Confidential podcast is a production of Dakanga Audio and produced by myself and Ella Spencer. Our theme music is composed by Kevin Robles. For more of the Filmmaking Confidential podcast, head over to filmmakingconfidential.com. To learn more of my filmmaking secrets, be sure to pick up a copy of the book, Filmmaking Confidential, available on Audible, paperback, and ebook, wherever books are sold. I'm Steve Balderson. Thanks for listening and spreading the word. Until next time, keep making, keep doing, keep going.